Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have a couple of fun DIYs for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some Rustic Farmhouse Christmas home decor crafts, so let's get started with project number 1. If you'll remember, if you haven't seen, I'll have the link down below, the last video where we made this rustic wood angel, and somewhere in that video I said, ooh, this would be kind of cool in fabric. That's what we're going to do today. It's on my brain. Let's go with it. So you're going to use the same pattern as the wood angel. I'll have the link to that last blog post down below so you can get that pattern and print it out. I've already cut fabric here. This is like a waffle weave type fabric I cut out, and this is just a machine quilted bedspread I got off eBay. I've got some hearts, just free-handed cut hearts, 2 pieces of fabric for each one. And then I've got like a ripped strip of muslin here, 1 inch wide, and I free-handed a star shape, again out of some muslin. Now to go with the star shape, I'm going to be using some batting, so we're going to put 1 in between each of those 2 pieces of muslin, and then I'm going to cut 1 piece of batting for in between each of the 2 fabric hearts. You do not have to use batting, it's optional, no worries. Do what you want to do. Sandwich those batting in between the 2 pieces of fabric. And if you're a gluer, you can go ahead with the hot glue or fabric glue. You can go ahead if you're using batting, and you can glue your batting in between your stars pieces. Of course, I'm going to sew around it. You can glue your batting in between the heart pieces. Of course, I'm going to sew around it, right? And then on the main angel, what you're going to do is go along the outer perimeter in between the 2 fabrics, and you're going to glue all the way down, leaving anywhere you like to leave open, but I think the bottom will be the easiest for stuffing. And then you're going to do the same thing on the wing all the way around the perimeter between the 2 fabrics, leaving a spot open to stuff, okay? So here I am, of course, sewing my fabric. Now I'm actually kind of working on 2 angels, well, 3, but I will show you the second one. 2 angels here simultaneously, so in the reveal, I'll show you how the other one turned out. But again, this is super easy, and I thought, you know what? This idea is in my brain. Let's get it out now. All right, so just sewing this up, and you can use all sorts of fabrics, which you'll see in the second angel, the different fabrics I used for that one. It looks really cool with these different kind of fabrics and quilted fabrics and stuff like that. It looks kind of awesome. Again, this is just a machine quilt, like a queen size bedspread I got off eBay or Amazon, something like that. I don't feel bad cutting it up. It was like $29.99. It works perfectly. Now I'm coming around and I'm sewing those hearts together. If you don't want to use batting at all, then just cut like 1 heart if you want for each of your 2 hearts, and then 1 star. You don't have to, cut 2 pieces of fabric, sandwich it, batting in the center, that kind of thing. But if you want it to be a little bit thicker, still don't want to use batting, then do 2 pieces of fabric together for each piece and make it thicker. Here's how my wings turned out, and here's how my angel turned out. My star is ready to go. My hearts are ready to go, looking all cute. Let's start some stuffing. So just stuff to your heart's content. I'm going to make sure I stuff nice and tight in that neck area, so when we get it attached to the wings, it's not all floppy, however you want to say it. So but you do you, but I'm going to make sure that my neck is nice, tightly stuffed in my angel. Once that's stuffed, we're going to go to the wings. Now I've got 1/2 of the wings stuffed. What you want to do is in the center, not stuff it as full, because see how it did look on the end of the wing with it really stuffed full? You don't want that, so it looks funny. So I'm just kind of pinning where my angel sits on that wing, so I can just do light stuffing in the center of that wing, okay? Now see, it's stuffed really full on both sides, but the inside is nicely light stuffed. So I hope that made some sense. So once both are stuffed and ready, you can glue or sew your opening closed. I am already sewn, ready to go. You can go ahead and attach your angel to the wings, but wait, because if you want to do, ripped fabric here, I just was ever the length of the fabric I had, 1 inch strip. I'm going to tie it into the bow. Of course, I want to get that on first because I want it to go all the way around the neck of the angel. And I'll glue it a little bit on the back side of the angel. And then you can go ahead and glue it All right, I'm still going to wait for it, but you can go ahead and glue it. And later off camera, I will do just a couple of little hand stitches to attach the wing to the back of the angel, but the fabric glue worked perfectly wonderful. All right, so here are my little hearts. I want to get those attached. You could add some buttons in the center. You don't have to add anything. I'm going to do some rusty safety pins and rusty bells in the center of the hearts just to give it a little something. But this is just decorative now. We're working on the decorative aspect, of course, and you all know a little bit rustic to me means something rusty, so adding those on both of my hearts. All right, and then I am going to come up. I've got a bow out of some plaid trim. I've got some already made. I've got some greenery cut already made, some beaded berries here. I get these from Hobby Lobby. It's a pick, $1.99. But you buy them half price or so. It's only, of course, about $1. And then I've got a rusty star. I'm going to bring in, this is a little tree ornament. They're like mini tree ornaments you can get at Walmart. They came out last year, like 4 in a pack for a couple dollars. My VersaFine ink and some Michael's clickable stamps. On the star, I'm going to, of course, stamp Oh Holy Night. I think that's beautiful. And then I'm just kind of cut that twine up above because it's knotted at both ends. I cut that off so that I could tie it around the bow right in the center there, and then I'll cut off the excess twine, of course. That way it stays nice and secure in there. And then I want to do a little bit of distressing with the Distress Oxide ink. Now, a lot of you are probably saying, but it's an angel. You don't want to dirty up the angel. It's very light. I am adding ink almost more like shadowing. Okay, I'm going to just come around like you saw on the star and the hearts, a little bit around the outer edge of the angel. It does look a little dark, but when you see the whole thing, it's not dark. I'm going to show you my little ink dauber here in just a minute, how little ink is on that dauber. So I'm doing front and back, of course. Going to go ahead to the wings and do the same thing on the wings. Again, it's just like you're adding a little shading. You're not making a beautiful angel dirty. You're just adding a little shading just so that things pop, right? Here I come. I did it on the bow, of course. Now I'm coming around on the angel wings. And this quilt fabric is kind of a cream color, so this shading actually looks nice. See, look, there's hardly any ink on there. It just looks dark because of the lighting. All right, now I'm going to come in and just at the top of my star, I'm going to just glue it right in under the center of that bow. All right, and then here I am now going to attach with Fabri-Tac glue the angel to the wings. Like I said off camera, I'll add just a couple little stitches, but it really glued fine. But my thing is, I just want to make sure it's secure. Even though I'm telling you it's secure, my brain's still like, I got to add some sewing to make sure it's secure, but it's totally secure with just glue. And hot glue would work just fine as well. And until the glue sets up, I'm just going to like pin it into place so it doesn't move on me as we're finishing up the decor on the front. I think this turned out so super cute. Now we're going to go ahead and glue our little heart button things in the bottom lower half of the angel. Again, I just freehanded the heart and I freehanded the star, so there is no pattern to those, okay? But you may not want to use hearts at all. You might want to just use big buttons. It might be cute. You might not want to use a star. You might just want to use, just a tag, a paper tag or something like that. As you saw, I kind of shaded around the hearts a little bit. Now I'm adding in the rusty star up the top here so that it kind of brings in those rusty safety pins and stuff down from the bottom. And then I'm adding in a little bit of greenery on either side at the bottom of the heart, kind of, above the tree, of course, as you can see. I love snowy greenery, so it's very, crystally snowy. Adding in the bow, and then adding in my little beaded berries right up above that. The bow tails and the muslin bow are very long because now I'm going to come in and wrinkle and crinkle my tails of both of those down the sides of the angel. On my other angel that I was working simultaneously, when I used the ribbon, I used the same ribbon on it. It was actually like rolled up, and so as I got to the end of the roll on it, it was kind of all curly Q, and I just think that looks fabulous. This one I had to kind of wrinkle and crinkle myself, but the curly Q was done for me, so I like that one a little better, but this one is still cute. And I added just a little bit different embellishment versus the tree on that one, and stamped a different saying as well on the star. All right, get these into place. A little curlicue, handmade curlicue at the bottom. Glue the star into place. Take my pins out. Like I said, I'll do little stitches on the back. That's the third time, just so you don't forget I'm going to do that. And then to finish it all off camera, I'm going to add just a little bit of shimmer glitter dust, and that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 2. For this project, I have a spool, again working simultaneously on 2 projects. These are a couple of vintage spools I picked up at a recent antique junk hunt show, and I'm going to do a little work on it here in a little bit, but the first thing I want to do is trace one end onto some cardboard. Now later you'll actually see me using a wood circle because I'm cutting wood product with my laser as I'm crafting this, but the cardboard circle will work just fine. So I use the shape of my cardboard circle to cut out 2 pieces of fabric and a piece of batting here. That is optional, but of course I want this to look a little bit quilted. And then I'm here now figuring out the size I'm going to need to cover the center of this spool. Not all the way, I leave about a 1/4 of an inch top and bottom. So I rip it to the size I need. I cut a piece of batting to fit that. Just 1 piece of fabric, 1 piece of batting. You can, of course, glue it together. Now, I want to discuss a little bit on this batting and the 2 pieces of fabric for the circle because I end up sewing around it, but then I have to go back in off camera and repair it so you don't see what I'm doing. But whether or not you're a gluer or a sewer, if you use batting, make sure that you completely glue the batting front and back to both sides of the fabric, okay? Do not leave any movement in between the fabric and the batting, if you understand what I'm saying. Because when we go to put our elements on top later, if you've got movement in between that batting and the fabric, those elements can kind of move around, okay? Even though we're gluing it on top. So off camera, I have taken my electric sander and I've sanded the center. It's too dark, okay? And then I'm going to repair this spool a little bit with some rustic red chalk paint. It's about the same color, not a lot. It's just kind of a dry brush just to kind of repair it a little bit. And then I want to stain lightly the center a little bit better because, like I said, it was just too dark. And no, it doesn't bother me to do this to this spool because we're changing it up anyway. And, you know, like I showed you at the beginning when I first showed the spool, it had paint down the center. Someone had already painted it. You could see the layers of paint, that kind of stuff. So I'm okay with changing it up. See this other spool that I'm working on with the other project simultaneously? It's got a lighter center. So that's kind of why I went with a lighter center on this one. Now I have some wooden numbers here. I cut with my wood laser machine, but you know, you can buy wooden numbers at any craft store. I'm just staining them up as well. And I have a piece of just scrap wood here. I'm doing kind of a dry brush with Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color drop cloth here, front and back, just to give it a little something because it's kind of a dark piece of wood. It's about a 2 by 5 inch. And then I'm going to stain some of these tumbling tower block pieces from Dollar Tree. I start out with 2, but I actually will, you'll see a little bit later, I actually bring in 2 more and like 3/4 of another one. So I actually use 4 3/4 tumbling tower block pieces, okay? You'll see what I mean in a minute when it pops into video. So now what I want to do, once I stain that up as well with both of these items with Waverly wax mixed with water, I'm just doing a little bit of distressing, holding my numbers down because they do have some thin places. I don't want them to break. And then I'll, sand up the sign as well. And here I am just gluing the 2 Jenga blocks together. So Jenga blocks, tumbling tower blocks, you know what they're called. So when I'm done, I'll actually have, there's my second set, 2 sets together. So 2 tumbling tower block pieces glued together, 2 sets of 2, okay? So here I am. Now I'm bringing in the wood circle I discussed earlier. Of course, the cardboard circle will work just fine. And I'm only using a circle on top, because there's that hole in the middle of the spool, and I want to make sure I cover that up. Okay, I'm going to make sure, again, as I discussed earlier, your fabric and your muslin are all glued together both sides, and I want to make sure I add plenty of glue to glue our fabric piece to the wood or cardboard circle. And now I'm just gluing on my center piece of fabric as well. Right? And then when I glue this on, I actually want the seam to show a little bit when I get this all the way into place. So as I put all my decor and stuff on top, I'm going to have that seam kind of just be center, but to the right a little bit. Not front and center, but just to the right a little bit, because I just think it gives it a little, some kind of, a little bit of accentuation. Is that a word? In the center of my spool. All right, now I'm gluing my wood circle down to the top, and now I'm coming in, and while that's setting up, and I'm gluing my wood numbers to the front of our little sign. Just nice and easy, just a little 25. We all know what that stands for. Perfect. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and glue my tumbling tower blocks down right underneath the lip of where we're going to decorate on top. So part of it, you're going to see I'm gluing on the back and the center of that tumbling tower block, because that's going to hit the fabric, and the top part where I glued all together is going to glue all the way to the top of that top part of the spool. That sounded weird, but you know what I'm saying. I'm off camera here a little bit, or you can't see it, but I'll show you here in a minute. Now I'm gluing the other set right up above it, so it looks just like that. Okay, now I'm going to glue my sign. It's going to give me a lot of room. Glue my sign to those tumbling tower block pieces. One was not enough. One set was not enough to give me enough gluing to get the sign on. That's why I switched and did 2. So now I'm going to bring in some of these beautiful bottle brush trees. They are a 16-piece set at Walmart for $8.98. They are beautiful quality. The bottle brush is really soft, and for 16 pieces for $9, I mean, what is that, like 50 cents a tree? And you get all these different sizes in this. That is way better price than running to Dollar Tree to get these. This, however, I did get at Dollar Tree. I got it, around July, but they're bringing out all these lanterns and things for Christmas as well. This, I do not want it to set completely on the top of the spool, so I'm going to add some little wood pieces I cut out here around the center so that you can still access the battery. Yes, you can use cardboard. That'll work just fine. Now, originally, as you see, I'm gluing 2 pieces together because I was just going to do 2 sets of 2 on either side of the little lantern, but that made it too wobbly, so later I end up pulling those apart, and I use 4 single pieces of wood, and I go around the perimeter of that lantern underneath, leaving the battery area open. Now I'm doing this so that I can add in some Velcro. I like this Velcro best from Dollar Tree versus those little round circles because they are stickier, and I'm going to cut them in half to fit all 4 of my little wood pieces. I'm going to glue them on. All right, and I want it Velcroed so that whoever gets this can take the lantern on and off, and if they need to, to be able to turn the light on, or if they need to change the batteries, okay? So I'm bringing in another one of these little trees. I'm going to add this with some greenery, bringing in decorative elements now, some of my beaded berries, Hobby Lobby beaded berries. A bow I've already done. This is some ribbon I got at Hobby Lobby. It's very pretty. I thought it matched that kind of red plaid very nicely. but it sits too low on the bottom. We'll take care of that in a minute. And of course, after I get everything glued, it's like, oh, I need to splatter. So I'm adding a little bit of splatter to the number. So that's why I have everything covered up. And I'm adding a little bit of splatter to the little tree ornament as well. And then I'm coming in, and I don't want the brown bases of these trees. They're little like plastic brown bases. They look nice, but I don't want them seen because I'm going to add snow around on top of our little spool here, which is again why, well, not again, because I'm just now telling you why I want the little lantern raised up a little bit, all right? And then the snow, I tried it on one of the trees. It's not going to completely cover that brown, so I'm coming in with that drop cloth paint and painting the bases of the trees and a little bit on the bottom of the bigger tree because that's going to hang off the edge of the spool a little bit so if it gets seen underneath. Now here I am, I've got my 4 pieces and I'm using some E6000 quick hold glue here. I want to make sure that these are going to stick to that lantern, so if someone's pulling it on and off, they don't pull the lantern off and the wood's still on the base of the spool, right? So I'm putting these on there and then I'm going to let them set. It says 10 minutes before you work with it again, and then about 5-6 hours till it's fully set. Now here underneath my numbers is my other little Jenga block, and I cut about 1/4 of that off because it was too long for me. You know, if you don't want to cut it off, don't worry about it. But I'm coming in to use some hot glue. You know, I very rarely bring out the hot glue, and I wished I hadn't because I burned the heck out of my wrist, but that's okay. Hot glue is quicker for video. I'm doing it all for you guys. So I'm gluing down kind of multiple pieces here, and I need that Jenga piece is quite well below my little sign, so I need to raise up some of the greenery here. So I've got a little piece here and I'm cutting it off. I'm using just a little stick of the greenery there. You're not going to see it, right? It's just a little extra piece, and I'm going to add some wood glue to it, pull this off, put it underneath. That's going to raise it up, and then I'll glue that right back on. So just a little trick for you, you know, just take a little piece of the wiry part so it matches all the rest of it, glue it underneath, and then cover it up. Adding just quite a few layers, however I want it, of greenery here. This is greenery, tiny little red berries I got last year on clearance at Walmart. It was like $2 for this great big sprig of them, and I bought like 10 of them. And now I'm just kind of seeing where my berries are going to sit, and I'm going to hold them in place and add the glue. Get those glued in really nicely, and then I'll glue my little bow right up underneath. As you saw, I glued my little wood tree in there first before I got the berries in. I add one more berry off camera, and then I'm going to wrinkle and crinkle this wired ribbon just a little bit, bringing it down. And now I've got some of that E6000 glue on the other side of those Velcro pieces, and I'm going to get it into position here. I'm going to smush it down really, really good. All right, and then I'm going to start with that setting up. I'm going to start adding glue around the perimeter and right up underneath the tree on those bases, and I'm going to use a little Q-tip here to spread it around. I don't use a spray adhesive here because I don't want it getting all over the trees and all that kind of stuff, so later I'll use spray adhesive on the bottom. But then I've got my little bag of fake snow here, so it's just easy to kind of tuck that tree down in and pack that fake snow around the bottom where I added the glue so it doesn't make too much of a mess. And I'm going to do this on all 3 trees. Okay? Adding a little bit more glue there, just on the base a little bit, into my little fake snow, smush it around there. You can see how nice that looks, just nice and packed to kind of cover up that base a little bit. One more tree to go. Of course, not on the bottom because we're going to glue that to our fabric, right? And if you don't want to use fabric on top of that, you don't have to. You can just glue it to the wood base itself. However you want to do it. This is just to give you inspiration. And then I'm going to start to glue my tree down right kind of to the back of that lantern a little bit. And that's why it hangs off the edge a little bit, because with that lantern and that great big tree, not quite enough room, but we make it look cute. And then I'll kind of, you know, put the other 2 trees in front of it here a little bit. Just in a little cluster. Cute, cute, cute. And then I'll start adding glue on the base of the fabric and use my Q-tip to spread it around nice and thin in there. And then I will drop in that snow. And I'll do this all around the perimeter. And then we'll even add a little bit on the lantern, because you don't want your lantern plain because it's supposed to look like it's been snowing, right? You don't want your bottom all snowed and nothing on the lantern. So here you can see, obviously, I'm adding a little bit at the bottom of the lantern here. I'll put a little bit on top, right? back side as well. I want it to look finished off, of course. Perfect. Add a little bit in here. A little bit will go on the lantern. I think I do it off camera on the back. I add a little bit, but here is the little bit on the top, just to make it look all wintry. I actually love how this turned out. Love how the other one turned out. Yes, I'll show them both. And now here comes my purpose spray adhesive 3M. I love this. I'll spray this on the bottom because I don't have all those trees and stuff to contend to get glue all over. Sprinkle some of the snow on the bottom down here, front and back a little bit. Tap off the excess, of course. And then once that's done, you know it, that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed both of these projects today. Sorry we're doing the same angel again, but it's different, right? It's in fabric. And like I said, the idea was in my head and I really just wanted to go with it while it was still there and see how it turned out. Now, I don't know if I like the fabric or the wood angel better, but I think they're both adorable. I love how this spool turned out. Again, you'll see the other one come up here in just a moment. You'll have to let me know which idea you like best, which one you want to make right now in the comments down below. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, you like a little rustic, you like a little farmhouse, you love lots of Christmas DIYs, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another video from me. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Hang in there with every trial that comes your way. With every push from the enemy, give him the death stare and show him who your God is. Don't let the enemy be victorious in your life. God didn't give you the spirit of fear and intimidation. He gave you a spirit of strength and uncompromising faith. No matter what circumstance you may be facing, believe and act on God's word for your life. God has given you his strength and the force of his army to stand up against the enemy. In the Bible, the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 11, it says, "The Lord thunders at the head of his army. His forces are beyond number, and mighty is the army that obeys his command." You just need to trust and believe in who God says you are as he gives you the ability to resist the enemy. When you stand against the enemy and his schemes, don't slouch. Stand tall. Be aware of his tactics and be ready to face the battle. Use your shield of faith in front of you to protect your heart and trust in God. Wear the belt of truth around your waist to protect you from the lies of the enemy. Wear the helmet of salvation to protect your thoughts, and always carry the strength of the sword of God's Spirit in your hand. Have you ever noticed a person with fear? You can't tell what they are thinking, but you can definitely see it in their expression that they are afraid. The enemy wants to see that fear in you, and he will press in and press hard until that fear binds you in chains. So be fierce. Stand tall in your faith. There's so many accounts in the Bible of faith in action and how these believers in God stood tall. In the book of Hebrews chapter 11, there are countless examples of those who fought with their trust and faith in God. Verses 33 and 34 in chapter 11 says, "Who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of lions, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned into strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies." The enemy wants to destroy your life in any way possible, but don't give the enemy any control over you. Know that God will give you the endurance to fight with all his power and all his might. Do not give up. Do not show fear, and do not let the enemy bind you in chains. Keep calm, stand firm, be determined, be immovable, and take that giant down. Remember, you have the force of God and his army behind you, and God will win. In the Bible, the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 1, it says, Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It is close at hand. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.